It's Sunday morning with Mark Sainsbury.
Joining me now, of course, one of our regulars, Dr. Harold Hillman, who's leadership coach. He's an author, he's a speaker. Of course, he did his book, The Imposter Syndrome, all about some of those dodgy bosses and people we work with. Something else dodgy, Harold, is this whole technology was supposed to make our work life so much easier.
That's right, Mark. We certainly thought that back in the mid-'80s and the early '90s when mobile phones were introduced. We were getting a lot more savvy about the Internet and connecting people through email and those types of things. These were all things that were supposed to help us work more effectively, more efficiently, and be more productive. At least that was the thinking back then.
Although, I'd have to say, Harold, I remember when the phones came out, and we were all reporters back in the old newsroom days, and we used to sneak out. It was a slack day, and we'd quite often sneak out, head off to the pub, because no one could find you, and the chief reporter used to ring these various pubs. He used to do it himself. Have you seen any of our guys down there? And we go, no, we're not here. As soon as we got phones, you could not hide.
Oh, you cannot hide. When I grew up, of course, when we were calling people in their homes or in their offices, you could picture them there. But now when you call someone, they can be anywhere. And you're absolutely right. There's that sense of people having immediate accessibility to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Does that mean that if there's no light and shade in the work relationship, is there? Because you're always available, you're always there, whereas in the past, you'd almost split your time up. This is work time, this is downtime.
That's right. Yeah, that's the old paradigm that no longer exists for the great majority of us now, where there are just not, they're just not those traditional and firm boundaries between our personal lives and our work lives now. And but it's interesting, Mark, as I done a little research on the topic, and whereas there was the sense that with mobile phones and email there would be more intrusiveness from work into the home, actually it's quite two-way, and that we've become much more flexible, and there's a lot of stuff going on at work that doesn't have a whole lot to do with work.
Hey, tell me, I think any office you go into, and look, we've all done this, most of them are on Trade Me or on their Facebook accounts, so it'd be interesting to work out now, as you point out, Harold, how much of people's work time is actually spent on home intruding into work.
Well, listen to this. I read an impressive study by an organization called People on the Go, where they tracked about 1,000 business professionals and how they manage their lives across what they call these inboxes. And on average, in a business, the average employee spends about 4 days a day managing across personal emails and corporate emails, roughly half and half.
What, 4 hours a day?
4 hours a day. Listen to this. Personal email, corporate email, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, blogs, Yahoo groups, all of those things. Only about 7% could actually be tied to work purposes. And so, that sense that people are, it's flowing two ways. People are balancing and being more flexible with respect to meeting their personal needs at work.
A company's going to start cracking down on this. I know there's always been talk. I've worked in places where they said, look, you've got to spend less time on all this personal stuff and trying to block sites like Trade Me and various other things. Because at some stage, this is costing a business time, isn't it?
It is. I would say that in terms of my own personal experience, and again, taking a look at some impressive research, most people keep it in balance. And I don't think companies have to get overly restrictive about that, because most people do come through the door each day wanting to do the right thing by the business. However, it is a two-way sort of contract, and that is, if you can have access to me more in terms of what I would consider to be my personal space, then my close friends, my family, and just things I need to take care of, I should be expected to do. So I think people keep it in reason.
Who's coming out ahead, do you think? Do you think we're doing more company work at home or more home work at the company?
Ooh, I tell you what, I think it's about half and half if you really think about it. I'm more concerned, though, in terms of negative ramifications, I'm more concerned about the flow of work into home, because I just see it day in and day out. A lot of my clients talk with me about it. They're just not fully present anymore at home, where the phone becomes more important than the child's recital, or, just that sense of, what are the priorities? And I do believe that in general, whether at work or at home, we're just more distracted. It's what we call an attention deficit disorder culture, where because this mobile device or the ding of an incoming email can grab our attention at any second, we can't invest fully in connections. And I do think personal relationships have suffered.
Harold, is it reasonable then to say to your employer, I'm going to switch off my smartphone and my computer when I get home? I'm going to unplug from business, or are we past that now?
No, it's an important point that you make, Mark, and I do believe that every employee, I don't care where you fall in the rank structure, but every employee has a right to define some personal space with respect to the bigger picture of them not just being employees, but these are whole people who have lives and, a lot of circumstances that we need to make it clear what those boundaries are. And bosses need to get better at sending emails at 2 a.m. and on Sundays and things like that, where it just sort of shapes this expectation that I've got to get back to them. It's gotten out of control in that respect, Mark.
Quite right. You're on the money as usual. Dr. Harold Hillman. You can check out Harold at www.sigmoidcurve.com. Thanks, Harold. Talk to you next week.
All right, Mark. Thanks.